Hi, everybody, and welcome to Beyond Politics. We're going to be speaking about something extremely relevant as the government fails, the infrastructure collapses, and the state literally run out of money to function. What's happening globally is completely different, and although we get lots of terrible, heartbreaking news across the country about how the state is failing, government leaders from local and national and probably even provincial are going around and having meetings with global organizations about designing the future, not just of the country, but of the world.
And specifically, the Urban 20 Summit is taking place here in South Africa, and our taxpayers' money is being spent on people having nice food, having nice big projector screens up, or maybe it's not projectors anymore, maybe big LED screens, and they're quite expensive with trussing and staging and all the other hullabaloo that goes with these events, your taxpayer money, talking about how they are going to change our urban future. So the U20 is part of the G20, and we'll talk about what that touches on, but you need to listen to this video, listen to the end, and a link to the article we're referring to will be in the description below this video, but this will impact you. Once again, this is part of everyone in the cities, right? Getting rid of people being out there on farms, in informal areas, etc.
So the philosophy is really to minimize the footprint of humans on the planet, but more so to ensure that humans are controlled so that they never have the ability to rise up against whatever system happens to be in power. And it says here, this is an article on News 24, we'll share the link. The future of humanity is urban, says Mayor Moya as Joburg Tshwane spearhead Urban 20. So what is Urban 20? Urban 20 facilitates discussions between countries and cities from the G20 and it establishes a platform for cities to collectively inform G20 negotiations. And I remember a long time ago I was in a public participation about the National Development Plan, that this was one of the top priorities, speaking about how to ensure that the majority, 75% specifically of the population, lives in urban areas. And this is seen as a good thing.
And it used to be rural, right?
This is being seen as good for climate change. It's been seen as good for humans. It's been seen as good for government, of course.
Control humans, because if they're all in the city, it's easier for the police, the military, the government to control and monitor, track and trace everybody.
It's nothing but human farming. And Joburg and Tshwane have launched the Urban 20 initiative, focusing on climate resilience, economic recovery and social equity, marking the first time African cities lead this global effort. Wonderful.
Cities that are falling apart. I mean, they can't look after a normal sewage processing plant. They can't look after their own rivers, but they want to spend your taxpayers' money on these events.
So the outcomes will contribute to global discussions at the UN World Social Summit and COP30, with the U20 Mayors Summit concluding the cycle in Johannesburg in September of this year. Maybe we should all attend, people.
I don't think they'll want to invite us.
COP30 is Conference of the Parties. It's an annual high-level meeting organized by the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. So we've shared with you...
Andre de Ruyter used to go and attend those when he's the CEO of Eskom.
We've shared with you so many websites. We'll share Urban 20 as well. We've shared 50 and 5. We've shared so many of the UN's auxiliaries. This global network has so many offshoots, it's actually hard to keep track of, but the scary, frightening part is that there are so many resources behind each of these offshoots that
and our tax money.
They're intent on controlling every corner of the globe. And just
no one will be left behind. And as Klaus Schwab said,
and you'll be happy about
yes, you will own nothing and be happy.
Yes.
Yes.
So let's get into it.
In your city. Smart city.
The U20 gathers the Climate 40 countries, a set of over 50 major cities worldwide working towards developing policy recommendations and advocating for action on climate resilience, economic recovery and social equity. This is important to note. The United Nations doesn't force our government to implement any of this stuff, or any government for that matter. So it just so happens that I suppose governments are not sovereign. We haven't got sovereignty.
They're idiots. So they can't think for themselves. So this gives them something to do.
Yeah.
It gives them something to spend our tax money on. You know, nice food, drinks, sitting
nice
somewhere in a nice aircon place. Yeah. Not actually doing what they're supposed to. Like making sure that the sewage plants are working.
Okay, the future of humanity, that's a bold statement. The
Yeah.
future of humanity is an urban future. And it is here.
Not on a farm, people, not out in a rural area.
And it's here in the streets, businesses, and communities of our cities where the world's most pressing challenges will be solved. Yet for many of our residents, the urban future they experience is one of struggle, Mayor Moya said, adding that both cities have citizens facing unemployment, poverty, and inequality. So can you imagine a future where our children don't even know what rural life is like, don't even know what open fields of nothingness look like?
Very much like the Hunger Games, eh?
Any dystopian movie or novel, it's I don't know how those authors guessed it, but they got it right. Moya said these two cities are important because Johannesburg is the economic engine of South Africa. That's hilarious, considering everything else.
It's backfiring at the moment.
And Tshwane is the capital city and the center of governance and policy. Moya said the key priorities of the U20 cycle are, and again, here we have
very important
words that mean nothing. They are not tangible. They cannot be measured. So people can't be held accountable. Economic opportunities and financing. So, I mean, just that, the government fails at every turn because every law that's being passed is communistic in nature, meaning that we're moving away from more private means of production. We're destroying the economy, but somehow, somewhere, economic opportunities and financing is a priority. Climate action and urban resilience, and I wonder what that's actually going to look like. Are we going to be allowed to drive cars?
That's
How
more
are
taxing.
we going to be... Yeah, more taxing.
You're going to be taxed for every freaking carbon
just
footprint,
simplify
whatever.
it. There we go. Nothing's going to change. We're just going to be taxed more. Social inclusion and equity. Those are very vague
Take
things.
from one and give to someone else. That's what it means. No, that is what it means in South Africa. The last one is the most frightening to me because that is the red line.
It's the most frightening. Yet, so many of you are probably welcoming it with open arms. And
tell us in the comments if you're welcoming digital transformation and innovation with open arms.
Remember the digitisation of literally the whole world that's taking place thanks to the fourth industrial revolution spearheaded by Klaus Schwab, who is the leader of the World Economic Forum, who informs ideas and discussions amongst all the other global organizations that then inform our government on policy, which then they dictate to us, the so-called voter. Wow. Fun. We literally have no power currently.
We do need to talk about system change at the end, the governance system change, because everything we talk about on this channel will tie back to changing the governance system in the country. And then we have to be really careful what we say about the constitution.
Of course, as we know now.
Yeah.
The mayor also touched on the need to repair local infrastructure, including water and electricity. That's so sweet.
Wow.
That should be like the only focus. I mean, it shouldn't have been messed up to begin with, but anyway. And Moya also added that when it comes to climate change, it's important to communicate with residents so that even the Gogo in Winterveld, an informal urban settlement in northwest of the city, can understand that the climate is changing because of our habits specifically.
I'm very worried about the statement here. What I read deeper into this.
Okay,
they don't want private businesses.
Similarly, business stakeholders need to understand that they play a role in meeting the U20 goals. So
and
now
they're
trying to rope in the private sector to buy into this whole global, I suppose, greenwashing scam.
Yes, and if you're not part of it, there will be consequences. If you read the next sentence, read between the lines.
Tshwane doesn't own the majority of buildings in the city. Businesses do. And we need to inspire them to use solar or other means. So we need to bring them in to help with the goals, she said, of meeting climate resilience goals, that is. So I'm not sure what that's specifically going to look like.
You know, the fact that someone mentions that most buildings are owned by businesses.
But also the talk on solar is pretty much saying we have no intention of building more capacity.
No. In fact, within Eskom, there's absolutely no plan for more capacity to be built. And I'm saying that it's because they are planning the 4IR. In other words, they will deindustrialize the country, people will lose their jobs, and we will live in this dystopian future. And the population, here's the key, would have to be reduced drastically. Let's just make that clear. And this is the part that no one is picking up on. That the ANC is just used. That their voters and supporters are just used to achieve a global goal. and they'll be spat out at the other end because these global elitists care nothing for the people of South Africa.
Okay, so
and Africa.
This article's a little bit long, so we'll share it in the link. Please go read it just to end, just to see where all of this is going.
And system change.
The outcomes of the U20 will feed into the UN World Social Summit in Doha, Qatar, and the global climate talks at COP30 in Brazil by reinforcing cities' critical role in achieving sustainable development and climate resilience. Those words again and again and again. Participants in the U20 will compile a joint political outcome document called the U20 Communique, and this will be presented to world leaders at the G20 summit. Now, the United Nations, as well as similar organizations, have documents upon documents upon documents highlighting how governments should run their countries. And, you'd think they have enough documents by now, but there's no end. There's no end to it.
COP actually wants us to shut down our coal-fired power stations. They want us to do it in South Africa when we are a fraction of the pollution in the world. Fraction. But they want us to do it here.
Of course.
Not elsewhere. And, people that fall for this are dumb, stupid, idiotic, etc. So, we have a lot of stupid people in this country, unfortunately. Dependent on government, we also have a lot of people. And hopefully they won't fall for things like this. I think a lot of people have some common sense, understand that we need our coal-fired power stations, that the fact that we have coal is an asset, a national asset. And we are sending it all overseas so that it can be burnt in other countries while we are shutting our coal-fired power stations down.
In essence,
an absolute travesty.
We don't have sovereignty. We're not an independent state. Are we even a nation? Do we fit the criteria for what a nation is? Do we have a unified culture and an identity? Is anyone actually truly patriotic of this country? Do people actually want this country to succeed? I mean, people as in the citizens and the voters. It seems like other countries just want to keep their grubby paws on our resources and want us to fail. And unfortunately, the majority of citizens are just too busy surviving, going about their daily lives to even think about the impact of the digitisation of the country, and discussions like this about urbanizing South Africa and what that will mean and how it will take our power away in an already disempowered and pretty much failed state that is South Africa.
Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to this channel so you can get up-to-date, relevant information on what is happening in the world as well as in this country. Click the bell icon so you can get notifications for future content, and leave a comment. Tell us how you feel about this Urban 20 that is happening with your taxpayers' money being spent, where politicians are doing pretty much, anything. Just signing, rubber stamping what they've been told.